welcome everybody. We have Ian and Marius today showing us a little bit of Java and a little bit of AWS. I'm not going to talk much more. Let's get right to it.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, everyone. I hope everyone is well. Today, I'm quickly going to show you how to host a static website on AWS and also Firebase. So I hope you guys understood my pun intended with awesome AWS and lit meaning kind of Firebase. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. This was basically just a template that I pulled from W3 Schools. Remember to credit all the people that created it. But it's basically just to show the functionality of the hosting part. So that's why I didn't create something special. We can jump straight into AWS to start that off. So what's cool, you can actually host for free on the S3 bucket, a static website. And I don't know if you guys know, but on your first year, you get like a free tier usage on AWS. So you can actually play around. So for example, this is like a newly created AWS account. Let's create a bucket. So this is an S3 bucket, which basically just stands for simple storage. So S3. Let's quickly say test bucket takeaway, for example, and go next. All of this stuff, it's not necessarily anything to worry about. We can just go next. For the public access, we do want to make this public. So I'm going to untick this one. It's going to ask, are you sure you want to like disable it and allow the public to use it? Or like not use it, but actually see it? Yep, we are. The rest of the stuff, this is just to make sure and like to review everything and make sure you do want it that way. So you create the bucket. Then in here, we can actually upload 2 files. So let's upload it, which is just the BBD picture and the index.html. Now, you can do this for any static. You can do it for React, Angular projects, anything that basically compiles to index.html. So let's just upload that. Yeah, next. We leave, that's fine. Public permissions, you do want to grant public read permissions. Next. Standard, that's fine. And upload them. Cool. Now it's just going to upload here at the bottom. Let's just give it a few seconds. Cool. So both is uploaded. Now you do want to go into your permissions, properties, not permissions, sorry. There's a static website hosting option that's disabled. So here you can actually say, use this bucket to host a website. So this is quite cool. You click there, index document. Now this is basically going to be always your root document. For this example, mine was also index.html. And you can also give like an error document, usually if something happens. But yeah, that's as easy as that. Going save. And if you go into that, there's also an endpoint link that they give to you. Now, you might not believe it, but we literally just hosted a website. So if you click on this bucket, boom, there's the website. So that's the cool thing about hosting. It's quite easy and it's quite fast. If you do make changes, you need to re-upload the files that you changed. So that's a little bit of a tedious process to re-upload it each time you change it. But that's why I'm also going to show you the Firebase way of doing it, which is quite easy then to do changes if you need it. So on the Firebase, you can go onto the documentation. You do need to install, for like the example that I'm going to do, you do need to have the Firebase CLI. So usually what you just need to do is you can do npm install Firebase tools. They also give you the options here to see if you're on a Linux, for example, like I am. They give you all the necessary stuff. So I already have it installed, and then you need to Firebase Login. Now Firebase works with Google, so you can basically just use your Google account. What is also cool about them, they also have like a free tier usage. And then you can like add your credit card details or whatever. And then let's say if it goes above it, it will basically start deducting, but it's like a very small amount. Or you can just stick to the free tier usage. So after you have logged in and you created an account, everything, then you should be able to just go for the hosting. So we're going to open the terminal. You're basically going to be in your root folder. You're going to say Firebase init, right, to initialize your Firebase project. You'll actually see there's a couple of options: database, Firestore, functions, hosting. Now this is the one that we want to do, right? So we're going to press space, So it selects it and then enter. Then it's basically going to say, listen, select an option. Do you want to use existing project or create a new project? Now you can actually create projects in Google Chrome, for example, because there's a whole lot of like setups that you can do. For example, if you already have like a DB or something and you want to connect to it, you basically use an existing project. But let's go with create a new project. Now, this is a quick thing that I want to show you guys. I struggled with it for not quite some time, but just like for a few seconds, I was like, okay, why doesn't this work, right? So if you specify a unique project ID, so let's just say test and test, get this minimum characters wouldn't now work. So you're going to see it's going to fail now, but it says basically see Firebase debug log. So if just go in here and you can actually check. So this is quite cool. You can check why it failed. It should be saying because I believe the characters was a little bit, yeah. So here, as issue project ID must be at least 6 characters. So let's just go again, Firebase init. And it's globally, so the projects that they have is globally like needs to be unique. So if you enter create a new project and you actually enter a word that, or like a project that was already there, it's going to fail again. And you're not entirely going to know why. They just say go check the logs. Then you can just check the debug log on why it failed. So let's make this one. This is not a test. Woohoo! I think that's quite descriptive, and there won't be a bucket maybe like that. Let's do the other one also. This is not a test. Woohoo! Enter. Let's see. Cool. It seems like it's passing, so that means it's unique. Let's just give it a couple of seconds. Cool, so it creates the Firebase stuff. It does take a couple of seconds, but it's as soon as this is done, basically the main bulk of what needs to be done is actually done. So they're actually creating now in the background a whole project for you where you basically can add authentication, you can add DBs, like the first stuff that we saw when we said Firebase init. Cool, so now it's ready. Now it says your public directory is a folder, blah, blah. So you can basically choose from which directory you basically want to do it. So usually, for example, in Angular, this would be in your source folder or your dist folder or your www folder, for example. So depends on where is your index.html usually going to be. For this, we just want this root directory. So we're just going to go into the same directory, configure as a single page app. Now this usually also, for example, with Angular, you're going to need to say yes. For this, we don't use really single page apps, so we can say no. And then it says, cool, there's already a file that exists, overwrite it. No, because that's going to be the Firebase one. So we're going to say no, because we already have our own ones. So cool, Firebase initialized, cool. And that's it. So now to deploy this to Firebase, you literally just type in Firebase deploy, enter. Wait a couple of seconds. And it's now deploying actually to the web. And a quick heads up that I just remembered. So on AWS, if you've hosted it, so for example, like this, the link might not necessarily be the best that you want. You can actually use stuff like Route 53 to just buy a domain or like use a domain or redirection to whichever domain you want. So that's quite cool. And yeah, there you'll see Firebase deploying, and then the hosting URL. So control click and open it. And voila. Let's give it 2 seconds just to load it. And voila, there's literally the Firebase app hosted. Now, like I said, on S3 buckets, if you change something, you need to re-upload it, which is quite cool about Firebase. Let's, for example, delete the picture. All you literally have to say again is Firebase deploy. If you work in an Angular project, you do the usual stuff to rebuild it. So basically, you would be saying ng build -- prod. To basically just make sure all the syncing is done into the HTML file. And if we, let's say, open this up again, now I think it's cached. So let's control F5. Yep. And there's the picture disappeared. So that's quite cool. And it's quite fast, literally just showing in less than 10 minutes actually that you can host on Firebase and AWS static websites. So yeah, that's me.